Hello everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take another look here at Bitcoin, see what's going on, of course, help us understand best practice and big picture, and just see what's going on. So once again, happy Saturday. If you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, love teaching people how to trade. Hope you can learn something here today, of course. You do want to become a better trader. I do have a trading academy and community. Link in the description below if you want to consider taking a look at that and, of course, becoming just, in general, a better trader, a little more consistent. That being said, here with Bitcoin, pretty obvious, it's a weekend, not a whole heck of a lot going on. We did just have a minor correction here, of course, but the bottom line is that we are still making higher lows on the short to medium time frames. And again, just address the elephant in the room. We absolutely are making higher lows as well on the long term, kind of the more so the macro. So ever since January, 35, 37, 38, and 39 have effectively worked as strong support levels that keep getting tested. So hypothetically at this rate, another couple of weeks, maybe even a month or so out, we'll be right naturally around 42,000 or higher. Okay. Again, there's no guarantees that, of course, just based on the simple fact that trend lines consistently are broken, but until they're broken, you kind of have to respect the fact that they're probably going to continue to maintain itself. Okay. So that we just want to kind of go under that impression here for now. So I'd still say overall, Bitcoin should be more likely to go to the upside, at least in the immediate future. And then, of course, if we do break this trend line, we'll reevaluate, take another look. And I think as long as we don't come anything lower than 37,500, we'll still be in pretty good shape. All right, so again, we'll take a look at that here and much more, but for the most part here, that's what we're at. We're under both moving averages too. Once again, the 42,000 is essentially right where the 50-day simple moving average is working and trending. So, again, if the price were to increase, I would expect some resistance around 42,000, but tentatively right now, 41,600 appears to be the resistance level. Okay, so we can just kind of understand that, and in general, we're underneath 50 on the RSI on the 1 day, so the overall sentiment for the time being is more bearish in the sense of the fact that we're held under that resistance level, and until we're back up above, which would probably be very synonymous in a lot of ways with 42,000, then we're probably not going to continue to the upside, or we're going to face more rejection. So there is a possibility here. Keep this in mind, where the price comes down here, and of course, just say the price works itself up, and we find this, either 42 or 44,000 is the next high, making lower highs, and then it could continue lower. Okay, so I just want to kind of throw that out there as a possibility. Not trying to concern you super, but there's a likelihood we could see a rally and recovery and then a decrease from there in the overall sense of things. But again, until this trend line is broken, we're in pretty good shape. Another thing to also acknowledge as well is just the fact that the price is coming down here and doing one of these. It's very common for the price to break to the downside based on the fact that it came from the upside. Now, how low will it break? Probably not super low. I do think those who are speculating in the 7 to 20,000 range are probably a little off. Yes, it's true we could see some extreme behavior if we break 30,000, but I think 30,000 to 40,000 is a pretty strong amount of volume accumulation, more specifically right around 38,000. So I don't feel like we're going to see much lower than 38, 37.5 in the immediate future. But if the price were to come back down, that'll be a key level support, and we want to hope that that holds. Okay. So again, just some stuff to be aware of. I just like to shoot it straight. No sugarcoating here, essentially. I always like to take a neutral stance and understand, because I try to teach this to my community too. When you are becoming a better trader, or just in general, constantly evolving as a trader, it's important to acknowledge that that the market, bullish, bearish, whatever the case is, you got to be able to play both sides and not take a side and get stuck on this, this nearsightedness of, we're bullish and that's all there is to it. While that's true in some cases, oftentimes that can be proven wrong. So the best stance you can take is a neutral one, and essentially, look at everything abstractly and understand that there's possibilities of the price, yes, going down to 24,000 or lower. But there's also a good chance that the price will continue to make higher highs and higher lows, as it has continued to establish itself so far. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the weekly, we're still making higher lows and we're still making higher highs. Until that trend is broken, we want to continue to assume that it will maintain that. Right? Again, that's just kind of how it works. That's why trends are considered to be your friend, and you need to get on that same page there, right? So there's no use in making your friend your enemy and picking a side that's losing. All right, so that is just some friendly advice there. So for the 4 hour here, let's kind of go ahead and take a look at a couple of obvious ones. TD sequential doesn't give us much to extract. I mean, we're pretty much going sideways. We're effectively channel trading between 39 and 41,500 at this point, or 41.6, and we can't expect too much there. We've also got the 50 working its way down here. This could potentially push the price action lower, whereas the price might come up and reject. But we could also break above and use it as a support level and essentially be just fine. Right? So a couple of different schools of thought there, of course, but I would say with us tentatively underneath that, it's more disadvantageous than positive, not necessarily ideal. You can also see a pretty obvious line here in the sand here where 50 on the RSI is effectively working as a strong resistance. That is synonymous with 41,600. So until we break cleanly above 41.6 and a nice clean break above the cloud, maybe even a MACD convergence in the 4 hour, at that point, I would say we'd feel a little bit better, and that the likelihood of it potentially continuing higher would be greater. Now I say potentially because again, 42,000 strong resistance level on the 1 day based on RSI, as well as the fact that 44,000 previously has proven to be a strong support, therefore a new resistance. So 42 to 44 will give us some resistance. So until we can get a strong firm break above 44,000, preferably 48, of course, I know that's a stretch at this point, we're not considered to be back on track, if you will. Okay, so that being said, that's kind of where we're at here for the moment. Just some bird's eye view, and obviously some other things as well. Not much to extract on the MACD here, of course. I also want to urge some caution too. I know some people really put a lot of leverage into or a lot of faith into the MACD convergence or divergence. While that is a very helpful tool in understanding the direction, I don't think it should be used solely as a determining factor. In other words, some people will argue on the monthly that MACD divergence is going to continue for months. I would disagree, because if you're looking at that alone, that's not necessarily the right way to look at it. You want to look at the big picture and understand we're still making higher highs and higher lows, and until that's broken, we kind of got to expect that to continue. All right, so again, that goes for the 4 hour here as well. It doesn't always mean that we're going to see a shift in momentum to the upside if we see the MACD convergence converging. Okay, it's just an extra thing that you want to add to your toolkit, and maybe use it as a little complementing factor. All right, so just some friendly advice there. I've seen some people use the MACD religiously, and I think it's more of a tertiary type of indicator that should only be used as the icing on the cake, or more so just understanding general momentum. Momentum does tend to slow down on larger time frames, so you got to recognize that. That being said, 1 hour chart. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the TD sequential. Nothing much to note here. We can see obviously we came down to a 9, got really wrecked, and of course reversed all that progress from before. So generally speaking, a lot of little reset buttons. This is very, very strong manipulation that's occurring, of course, but it's also kind of telling too, because if you see the price come up here and kind of paint this little type of flag, oftentimes, traditional trading would break to the upside. But if you see, there was a loss in volume, and that lower volume essentially created this downward trend. So we want to try to pay attention to the volume and see kind of what that is telling us. We have a decent amount of low volume over the last 24 hours. Now, granted, that was a Friday/Saturday. That's pretty expected over the weekend. But if you look at the big picture here, and we look at last weekend, the amount of volume from last weekend was abysmal compared to previous timeframes. Now, if we maintain this kind of volume this weekend, we can probably expect a sell-off come Monday. Okay, and the reason why I say that is just because we have there's less strength, and there's less push to want to buy at this price point. And if that is the case and that continues more specifically through the weekend, then of course whatever increase in price, just say it gets up to 41,600 or 42,000, then they're going to take their profits regardless. Okay, because again, you got to understand they got in at 39.5 during the weekday, and if it's at 42 on the weekend, profits are going to be taken on Monday. So just bear in mind that's exactly what happened this previous Monday. That's what could happen again. Another thing to acknowledge too, and this is kind of another helpful factor, at least a potential swing in the right direction for Bitcoin, is that we did hit a 9 recently for TD sequential, basically just telling us that we are at this fairly exhaustive state, or we were recently. So it makes sense that the price is going to go sideways here. If the price can go sideways for 2 or 3 more days, then it'll likely break either up or down. I know that seems very you know, less specific, because honestly it's hard to choose which direction it wants to head right now. It does feel like it wants to come up and test 42,000 again, or 41.6, but we'll have to wait and see. Weekends are not the best gauge for, you know, for that type of behavior, or just understanding what's going to happen next. So again, just kind of friendly advice there. Not much can be really extracted for the most part for now. It's just seeming that we keep having this, you know, this up down pattern, and it's just kind of annoying, really. It was like any progress that's been made just keeps getting reset, and you know, the people that are controlling this are effectively making a ton of money. But here's the thing too, just kind of, you know, all that aside, we saw these two low points here get tied, so to speak, right? So a double bottom effectively allowed the price to come back up. When we acknowledge here, this is another potential double bottom, if you kind of want to argue that. They're both pretty much parallel with each other. So, you know, the truth be told here, we are making, you know, double bottoms to an extent, right? But they all keep happening at a higher price point. Okay? So that tells us that there's a potential of the price to continue higher based on that sentiment alone. All right. I just don't want you to walk away from this conversation thinking that it's just going to keep going up, because the likelihood of us facing some resistance again at 41.6 or 42 is pretty great at this point, just based on how poorly it did here previously, and obviously how low volume kind of affected the price and reversed it all the way back down. All right, so again, just some things to be mindful of. And you know, the thing I want you to acknowledge is the fact that we do have a pretty decent low price point. Heaven forbid the price were to come down to 30,000, just say. We still continue to add to your position. That's why you don't put all of your eggs in your basket right now. So I would say dollar cost average, small percentages of your overall potential investment, or just have a weekly investment strategy. Every single week at a specific time, you deposit X amount and just allow for you to continue to maintain that average. Because the more, you know, you add at 40,000, the better it's going to be later. And of course, the more you add at 30,000 too, if we get there, the better you're going to be later as well. So try not to just wait to buy the dip. I think it's important to kind of continue, just get in the mindset of comfortably, continuously adding to your portfolio, at least if you're a long-term investor. If you're not, shame on you. You should understand that trading is investing, and if you're only day trading, you're cutting yourself off at the foot. And I recognize if you're in your 20s and you think you got, you know, the world is your oyster and you're just gonna keep making money the rest of your life. It's all well and good, but if you don't have anything at the end of your retirement, or by the time you retire, you're going to be kind of screwed and wish you had done so. And I speak from experience there, because in my 20s I didn't invest much at all. I wish I had now, but truth be told, I'm making up for it. However, I don't like having this, you know, this pressure of trying to make up for lost time. Do yourself a favor. If you're young, man, just keep adding to your position and stop being so, I guess, you know, stuck in just, you know, making a quick buck. Try to think long term. Just some friendly advice again. All right, so big picture, Bitcoin has tremendous potential long term. I don't think there's any reason why we should expect Bitcoin to ever go to zero, and I think that it's definitely something worth investing in. So I hope that you have learned something here today, and we'll look forward to seeing the next one tomorrow. Thanks again for all of your support to my current community members and beyond, even my subscribers. You've all been great, and thankful for just the wonderful feedback that I get from you all. So thanks again for everything. We'll look forward to getting to know you better. CryptoCache.tech is the website, link in the description below if you want to become a better trader. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.